What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own fantasy football huddle, presented by DanklyfeBrand. Let's talk sports and shank it golf brand. Today is going to be another hot and fire ass episode ready for you. We're doing our sleeper bold predictions. We've done our high value bold predictions, which was centered around players that would have been drafted in the first, 10 rounds of your fantasy football draft. These are players that might even be available on the waiver wire, or you took them in the late rounds of your draft while everybody was grabbing defenses as a late round flyer. One of those lottery tickets that you're hoping absolutely hits this year. And I've got a bold prediction for you. I've got 4 of them for you today, as well as a viewer comment. Thank you guys so much for all the comments, all the questions. Make sure you always ask your questions. A simple start 'em, sit 'em question, a trade question, a how do you feel about this player this season question. Always drop questions down in the comments. I love answering y'all questions. I love the feedback. I love interacting with y'all. So please, anything that you got on your mind, drop it in the comments for me, please. Even if you hate my takes, I've had a couple people say that they didn't like some of my startums and sit-ems, and I said, hey, we'll see come Monday's video what we're looking like. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I hope I'm right, so that way I can bring them back to a new video and say, hey, look at this. Now, we're gonna get into the bold predictions today. So we always started off the right way. I send you the invite. Now is the time, if you do, to smoke them if you got them. So fill up your cup, roll something up, and let's get right into the news. We're going to start off with our first bold prediction today. It's also going to go off of one of my week 1 bold predictions. If you haven't seen the week 1 bold predictions, drop down in the comments, or drop down, in the description, and you'll be able to see that video as well. But I said that Jake Ferguson will finish as a top 12 tight end this season, this week. But as far as this season, the 2023 season as a whole, Jake Ferguson is going to finish as a top 8 tight end in fantasy scoring. He's going to be a definite tight end 1 by the end of the year. 2022 tight end 10 was Dalton Schultz, the Dallas Cowboys tight end. And he missed 2 games, and he had 2 games where he put up 0.0 points. So let's say he missed 4 games in total last year, or put up zeros in 4 games last year, and still finished as tight end 10. The Dallas Cowboys roster says to me a lot differently than what Mike McCarthy has been saying. Mike McCarthy's been saying they want to run the ball, but they've done really nothing to prove that to you as a fantasy fan, as somebody that's speculating on what's going to happen in the future. They added Brandon Cooks. Their lead running back specializes in pass catching. When Mike McCarthy was the play caller in Green Bay, the Green Bay Packers threw the ball more than anyone else. I mean, everything is telling me that this is going to be a passing roster, a passing team, and Dak Prescott, the quarterback of said passing team, is one that loves to throw the ball to his tight ends. He peppers his tight end. Dalton Schultz, over his last 3 years with the Dallas Cowboys, averaged 94 targets and 6 touchdowns a year. Those numbers would have gotten you good enough to finish as tight end 7 in PPR as far as a production standpoint. And you're looking at those 94 to 100 targets being available. And I think Jake Ferguson is going to be a great beneficiary of these targets that are available. I think Dalton Schultz's success, I guess we can call it, over the past 3 years has not really been Dalton Schultz is that good of a tight end. I'm staying away from Dalton Schultz in Houston, but I think it was the Dallas Cowboys scheme that got Dalton Schultz to where he was, and Jake Ferguson is now taking his spot. He's going to finish as a top 8 tight end this season. Now, real quick, we want to stop and get into one of the comments from the last videos. Going back to Jake Rings, he's been featured with his comments on one of my previous videos. He says he appreciates me going so in depth on his comment. You can read the rest of the comment there, but his question is, what are your thoughts on Brian Robinson Jr. this season? I think the offense will be decent, and I feel he could be involved more in the passing game than others think. And I completely agree with you. I don't think he's going to have, crazy passing numbers, but I think it's going to be kind of like what Jonathan Taylor has done for the Colts the last few years as far as the passing game. He's not the passing back. He's not I mean, they've always had Nyheim Hines or somebody on the roster to take that role. But Jonathan Taylor's still involved in the passing game. You don't want a defense to be able to key in on the fact that when Brian Robinson's in the game, they're running. When Antonio Gibson's in the game, they're passing. You don't want to be able to have them key in on that. So he's going to be involved in the passing game. As far as week 1, I think Brian Robinson is a definite start. If you haven't seen my week 1 bold predictions, I said that I had a bold prediction about Brian Robinson. I think he's going to have a fantastic week this week. And I think Brian Robinson Jr. is going to have a fantastic season. We saw what he did last year coming off of getting shot in the leg, and he had an amazing year. Now he's fully healthy, a full offseason, a full training camp. I mean, he's got all of the cards. I mean, barring injury, everything is going in his direction for him to have a fantastic year this year. I don't think he finishes per se, as the number 1 running back in fantasy. But if you haven't seen the bold predictions video yet, check that out in the description below. You'll be able to see what I said about Brian Robinson. So now moving on to our next bold prediction for our sleepers of 2023. I think Jordan Addison from the Minnesota Vikings is going to be a top 24 wide receiver, and it's going to be easy the way he does it. Adam Thielen has had quite a bit of fantasy value, right alongside of Justin Jefferson. Even when he was alongside of Stephon Diggs, he presented really good value. That scheme has always been able to support 2 wide receivers. Last year, he was top 5 in red zone targets among wide receivers for the entire year. And Addison is on a whole nother wide receiver planet than Adam Thielen. If you think Adam Thielen can jump higher than Jordan Addison, you're crazy. Do you think he can run faster? Do you think he's stronger? Do you think he can catch better? Jordan Addison is a better wide receiver in every sense of the word. And he is going to be better than what Adam Thielen has been. And Adam Thielen has been good enough to be top 24 throughout his career with Justin Jefferson. I think easily Jordan Addison is a top 24 wide receiver this year. Do not sleep on this man. Next, wide receiver, we're going to be talking about with the bold predictions, yet another top 24 prediction. I think Jahan Dotson from the Washington Commanders finishes as a top 24 wide receiver this year. He outscores Terry McLaurin and Devontae Smith, just to add on a little kicker to this bold prediction, because you don't want it just to be at that base that he's going to finish top 24. I think he outscores his teammate and the best number 2 wide receiver in the division in Devontae Smith at the current moment. Last season, he put up 7 touchdowns in 12 games as a rookie with absolutely horrific quarterback play. Terry McLaurin's coming into the season banged up. He has that turf toe, and you saw how turf toe affected Julio Jones for years, 2-3 years. Julio Jones was questionable every game, missing practices every week. I mean, you couldn't rely on Julio at the end because turf toe, it was like poison in his body. He could not shake the turf toe. But Jahan Dotson has shown that he has absolutely amazing chemistry already with Sam Howell. When you look at him and Sam Howell in the preseason and what they've been able to do, Jahan Dotson seems to already be Sam Howell's number 1 favorite target to go to. I do think that Washington is going to be down in a lot of games this season, and a lot of games early, which is going to force them to pass a lot. Of course, they're still going to be able to eat with their running backs, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, as we spoke about earlier. But I do think that Jahan Dotson is definitely going to have a top 24 finish this year. And on top of it, he outscores Devontae Smith and Scary Terry. Last bold prediction as far as the sleepers go this year, I got Kenneth Walker. He's going to never let Zach Charbonnet outshine him this year. Zach Charbonnet is not going to be what everybody thinks he's going to be this season. You got to understand what Kenneth Walker did last year. Now, Pete Carroll is no fool. If Zach Charbonnet comes out and is absolutely amazing, he's going to get those carries. But when you look at what Kenneth Walker did last year, he got 100% of the carries inside the 5-yard line. Now, I do think Zach Charbonnet eats into that a little bit, but he had an amazing season, and I do not think that he's just going to flat out lose his job. He's a better running back than Zach Charbonnet, and I honestly think that Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker are going to be the new Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. I don't think that Kenneth Walker is going to lose his job to Zach Charbonnet. I think, if anything, Zach Charbonnet plays good enough to where they split carries like we saw Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt doing over the past few seasons, and they both have the ability to eat. But Kenneth Walker is never going to let Zach Charbonnet outshine him in the season of 2023. That's going to do it for my sleeper bold predictions for 2023. I'm so excited. We're at the weekend at this point. Everybody's been working for the weekend, and Sunday is almost upon us. We have a few more videos coming out before you really need to set your lineup on Sunday. So make sure you drop your starting lineup questions, your flex option questions, anything you got before going into week 1, drop them down below. I might even do a whole video just on questions if we get enough of them. So comment below, make sure you drop a like, and make sure you drop a subscription. Thank you all so much for your time today. Keep your chin up and your attitude down. I'll see y'all next time. Holla.